that made me feel comfortable and real. But when I took a breath, you started talking about something else. You sent me far, falling through an ever-shifting ground, falling far, falling through an ever-shifting ground. Let that heart bleed to death. Seal that abyss with my lips. revolves round your smile and the way you squint when you're in pain. Your washing powder perfume, the skin behind your ears. Now you're just a face on a train. Just that model. Does he believe his own words when alone? When he wakes up to a flickering and flashing on his phone, looking in the camera, they could be glowing in the display. They could be crawling on the grid in the air, hiding in the sensors. They could be messing with the signal. They could be hijacking the system. They could be electricity. adapters, they could be reading in receivers, they could be flowing in the circuits, they could be electricity. the cold Monday morning, humans are pouring out of public transport coaches like 1,000 pins tipped straight out of their box and dragged along the barren platform by an invisible magnet. And in their midst I roll along inside the avalanche of a duty-driven herd when I see a glimpse of you from behind. I feel a shiver down my spine. Your simple presence sets me into a passionless trance. Take a breath, and for a short and lucid moment I'm becoming aware of what I'm doing. I'm crying out amidst a crowd, my fingers stretched towards a soundless stranger in a nameless and hostile swarm of golems. I feel embarrassed. This is madness. This is crazy. It's so absurd. I must be absolutely out of my mind. 1 second later, I'm sinking right back into dull obsession on an escalator into the void. I can see every detail in the room, every tiny imperfection on the wall. I am ready to rise up from the bed, but my limbs don't seem to heed or hear that resume the flow. I stood in its epicenter and witnessed the darkness enter. I let its fury be my mentor and stood there with eyes aglow. As white turned into gray, the bits of night were doused in day. Voltage rising in the air supercharged my every hair. The breeze became 1,000 hands that ran the nails down billboards, and they tore off shreds from faded ads that drifted by the bachelor pads. Raindrops turning into hail that shot like bullets through the veil of water, blocking out the view to worship sides of revenue. And as I open up my fist to feel its temper on my wrist, the sky tore up in giant flashes to the sound of titan crashes on the steaming streets and pavement of luxurious enslavement. Everybody ran for shelter. All I did was stand and welter in midst the heavens helter-skelter, alone and prepared to break. Prepared to be expunged see